Hello and a very, very warm welcome to everyone joining us here as we come to you live from the ADM Sportpark in Stuttgart. And we are bringing you a live training session of the Mannschaft, the German national football team. You can just see Markus Sorg and the rest of the team setting things up out there here in Stuttgart. All part of the preparations, of course, for that game against Spain. But let's get things going with a little look at how one of their players gets going, joining up with the national team. Julian Brandt hier.
Am Nachmittag des ersten Tages lockeres Training auf dem Gelände von Borussia Dortmund. Aufgrund verletzter und kranker Spieler und Spielern, die im Hotel regenerierten, war der Spielerkreis etwas kleiner als gewohnt.
Training, ist das grundsätzlich extrem anders als im Verein hier?
Man kann das gar nicht so richtig vergleichen, weil im Verein bist du jeden Tag im Komplex oder trainierst sogar zweimal am Tag. Hier kommst du eigentlich Montag oder Dienstags an, hast gespielt, viele machen dann Regeneration, dann geht es Mittwoch, Donnerstag, Freitag eigentlich schon schnell zum ersten Spiel. Dann hast du eigentlich immer nur 1-2 Tage, wo du dich wieder regenerieren kannst, Abschlusstraining, Reisetag, was auch immer. Also viel ins Detail können wir nicht gehen. Ich glaube, ähnlicher wird es, wenn man ein Vorbereitungslager hat auf eine WM oder eine EM. Deswegen ja, ist es sicherlich auch schwierig für die Trainer, aber man versucht so gut wie möglich hinzubekommen, aber vergleichen ist es schon schwierig.
Für Julian begann der folgende Tag mit der Pressekonferenz im Deutschen Fußballmuseum in Dortmund. Aber erst einmal das 1:1 Interview mit RTL-Redakteur Roland Hoffmann für die Vorberichterstattung des Argentinien-Spiels. Danach kurz die Ehrung als Spieler des Spiels beim 2:0-Sieg in Nordirland.
Wurde es von den Mitgliedern gewählt zum Man of the Match in Nordirland?
Ja, vielen Dank. Dankeschön.
Sehr gerne.
Blindes Hotel auch mal gerne. Ich glaube, jeder Fußballer weiß, wie es ist, wenn man vor einer großen Kulisse spielt. Und wenn man die ganzen Fans nicht hätte und man würde vor leeren Rängen spielen, dann ist der Fußball auch ja, nur noch halb so schön.
Auf dem Weg zum Mittagessen, Selfies und Autogramme und am Nachmittag dann das Abschlusstraining im Stadion. Einstimmung auf Argentinien. Am Spieltag überraschender Besuch von Leroy Sané im Mannschaftshotel. Motivationshilfe vor einem schweren Spiel.
Leroy haben wir jetzt eine Zeit lang nicht gesehen, dann ist es immer schön, wenn man sich mal wieder ein bisschen austauschen kann. Natürlich, das zeugt auch von einem gewissen Zusammenhalt und das ist auch wichtig, weil am Ende spiegelt das auch so ein bisschen deine Leistung auf dem Platz dar. Und das Mannschaftsgefüge und gerade auch das Abseits des Platzes ist es, glaube ich, sehr, sehr gesund hier in der Truppe und sehr, sehr gut.
20:45 Uhr Anpfiff. Deutschland gegen Argentinien und Julian Brandt in der Startformation.
Mir macht es persönlich Spaß, wenn du einfach Spielfreude siehst bei den Jungs. Ich glaube, das hat man gestern gerade in der ersten Halbzeit sehen können.
An den beiden folgenden Tagen dann Regenerationstraining und Einstimmung auf das Wochenende mit dem Spiel in Estland.
So there we have it, a closer look at a day in the life, or a few days in the life of Julian Brandt with the international team there as well. For those of you who perhaps are still trying to improve your German, didn't pick up on everything there, Julian Brandt talking about the difference in preparation for games at club level as well as international level. The weeks sometimes can get a bit busy at club level and a bit repetitive at times as well, and sometimes it's a nice change to come and link up with the national team where you have a bit of time to simply focus on the tasks at hand with the national team and perhaps leave away some of the stressful situations that do come along with club football. We also saw him picking up a Man of the Match award from the fans for that impressive performance against Northern Ireland not too long ago. Also, Julian Brandt talking about how playing without fans is only half as fun, something that, well, the world of football has been having to get used to lately. So hopefully something that won't go on for too much longer. Of course, talk of slowly but safely bringing fans or a percentage of fans to games. As things stand at the moment, that won't be the case just yet. Of course, UEFA making it clear that they would rather be safe than sorry and putting precautionary measures in place for these upcoming Nations Leagues games, which is definitely the right decision. Health and safety has to come first, and the German national team are right behind those decisions as well. And we also saw a nice moment of Leroy Sané linking up with the national team as well. That was part of that segment, talking about how the mood within the camp and amongst the players is extremely good and positive at the moment, and it's nice for a player like Leroy Sané, who's been struggling with injury of late, to still be able to come and link up with those players, keep that team spirit between them going. Leroy Sané, of course, part of the squad to face Spain in just a few days. Question here for the medical staff. What can the players look forward to? Professor Dr. Tim Meyer, the team doctor, talking how the players are tested here as well. And once the results come back, hopefully all negative, then the players can take part in the next training session ahead of them. Of course, there are a lot of people in the stadium as well, not just players. Does everyone get tested? The answer from the team doctor here is yes, everyone gets tested, even those involved in the smaller parts of the game in and around the pitch. And for those who were unable to have a test before coming here, well, the German national team made those tests available to anyone who needed them. Allowing everyone to play together as far as players are concerned, or work together as far as any of the staff and so everything going to plan. Of course, we're doing everything within our power to make sure that everyone is safe as far as health is concerned. So everyone wearing masks, and we're following the guidelines presented to us and following them rigorously. So great to see that the German national team taking all the necessary steps to make all of this possible. Of course, not the easiest of circumstances to work under, but of course the German national team, not the only sports outfit or football team to have to deal with this sort of situation. Everyone involved, all in the same boat really, and important that everyone is taking the right steps to make sure that football can return to normal as quickly as possible, but in the right way as well. Julian Brandt, Kai Havertz, and Niklas Süle on screen there, making their way out onto the pitch now to take part in this live training session. We do hope you are enjoying our live coverage of it. All parts of the preparations, of course, for that big game in Stuttgart on the 3rd of September. It's an 8:45 kickoff Central European time, where Germany take on Spain. Of course, Germany in that group with Spain, Switzerland. It's not Turkey, of course, although they will be playing Turkey in October. The other team in that group alongside Switzerland and Spain, the Ukraine. So not by any means an easy group. Spain, of course, the first big test and probably the most difficult and the pick of the bunch as far as the encounters go. And looking at the squad for these nations games, well, we do have a few debutants within the side, and Florian Neuhaus, one of those as well. The 23-year-old, given a chance to impress Jogi Löw, and should really be an interesting game to say the least. Robin Koch there, and Robin Gosens. Gosens, of course, a fantastic season in Serie A with Atalanta. Another one of the players making his, well, hoping to make his debut with the German national team. And with the way he's been playing this season, it comes as no surprise that he's been given the call up. Jonathan Tah now making his way out as well. A number of big names and senior players left out of the squad by Jogi Löw, not because of lacking in their performances or anything of that nature, simply because a number of the Bayern Munich and Leipzig players, some of the big names involved with the German national team, given a chance to try and catch their breath and given a bit of a break and time to recover. The Bayern Munich players especially, who of course now are also European champions at club level. Bayern Munich lifting the Champions League, very entertaining Champions League final against PSG, and what a performance from some of their players, not just in the final but in the lead up to that final as well, and will have taken a lot out of those players. That's why they have been given a chance to try and recover from that, but still some exciting and fantastic names thrown into the mix by Jogi Löw. Let's have a quick look at the players selected by the German national team manager Oliver Baumann, the Hoffenheim keeper. It's his first call-up and a chance to impress in between the sticks. He's joined by Bernd Leno and Kevin Trapp. Then, as far as the defenders are concerned, Matthias Ginter, Robin Gosens. We just spoke about the Atalanta Bergamo player a few moments ago. His first time with the national team. Young Thilo Kehrer is involved as well, the Paris Saint-Germain defender and right back who was extremely impressive during those Champions League games. Definitely one of their standout performers. Then Robin Koch, the man who's just joined Leeds United as well. He's only got 2 national team appearances under his belt, so a chance for him to try and impress as well. His fine form of late is all part of the reason he's made that move over into the Premier League as well. And Antonio Rüdiger, who he'll be playing against in the Premier League, of course, he's in there as well with the likes of Nico Schulz, Niklas Süle and Jonathan Tah. As for the midfielders and attack, well, Julian Brandt, we've already been introduced to him here this evening. Then Emre Can, Julian Draxler, Ilkay Gündogan, Kai Havertz, Toni Kroos, Florian Neuhaus, the third and final debutant in the national team. Florian Neuhaus, of course, the Borussia Mönchengladbach player, who's also now got a chance to try and impress Jogi Löw and his team. And the Champions League might have helped a few of these players. It's given them a chance to come in and maybe break into that team, give Jogi Löw something to think about when he makes his team selections in the future. Of course, a problem that every manager would like to have. The more fits, the more performing players you have available, the stronger your team will be. And really is an exciting time for German football. After it's, some would say it might have suffered a slight dip in recent times, but it's well on its way back to where it belongs, and that is at the top of international football. And some of these young players are, well, they're going to bring a bit of an extra spark to the team as well, something that at club level you always want. You always want new arrivals, new faces, keep the competition between players going. And inadvertently, the pandemic has, well, given Jogi the chance to try and implement that into at a national team level now as well, and trying to turn, well, a negative into a positive, as he always does. Out there with the players now, having a quick chat there with the likes of Matthias Ginter and company, listening to the man in charge. Going back to the rest of the team, we finished with Florian Neuhaus. Leroy Sané returns. Great to see him back in action. And then Suat Serdar, Luka Waldschmidt and Timo Werner making up the rest of the squad selection. It's been a long break for the German national team. The longest break since back in the 1940s. All due to this, pandemic that has gripped the world, not just the world of sport, but the world as a whole. And it's great to see that things like football can not only act as a bit of a distraction, but also a bit of an escape, and allow us to return to a little bit of normality as well. Should be a cracking game against Spain. And, well, we can't wait for that to get going. But interesting to see how the German side will be preparing. Of course, I'm sure Mr. Löw won't be revealing all of his cards here at this live training. He'll be keeping a few up his sleeve, I'm sure. A few surprises for the Spanish side. He'll be giving away all of his tactics. But either way, it'll be very interesting to just get a little bit of insight on what is a squad with some fresh faces and a slightly different looking setup as well. It'll be really interesting to see who his starting 11 will be. Plenty of options in each and every position, and a number of players with a point to prove, you feel. The likes of Leroy Sané, of course, who hasn't had a lot of national team action lately. Has missed out on a few opportunities here and there. He's now got another chance to try and impress, try and catch the eye of Jogi Löw and his team, and try and secure a place for these big important upcoming games. The Euros in the summer as well to be played, and then the World Cup shortly after that. So the game's coming thick and fast, and now is the time for some of these players to try and make sure they're a part of those games, and try and add to their legacy as individuals, but also to the legacy of the German national team. And I mean, who wouldn't want to be part of that story? Goes without saying, Germany's history as a national football team, well, second to none, really. And which player wouldn't want to be a part of that history and be part of the next chapter of the German national team. Players arriving in Stuttgart today, so very much in the early stages of their coming together and preparing for that game against Spain. And well, you don't have to wait too much longer. Just 3 days after that game against Spain, it's Switzerland against Germany. That should be an interesting encounter. Switzerland with some very, very exciting young players of their own. Very much an underrated team when it comes to international football, and sometimes overlooked, something I'm sure Jogi Löw and Team Germany will not be doing. And then we'll head into October, the 10th of October to be precise, where Germany take on the Ukraine as the UEFA Nations League continues. In between there, just a few days before that to be precise, in an attempt to perhaps try and get a bit of game practice in before that game against the Ukraine, Germany taking on Turkey in what should be a decent and interesting encounter as well. Fantastic pictures here at the ADM Sportpark here in Stuttgart. Once again, a warm welcome to everyone joining us here on the German Football Channel, the home of German football and everything that is DFB, of course. You can, of course, keep up with Die Mannschaft, the German national team, on all the social media outlets, Facebook, Twitter, just to name a few. And of course, you can at any time head on over to the DFB website, where you can stay up to date with everything that is German national football at every age group level, both men and women as well. Perhaps you might want to get your hands on one of those cracking shirts and support the cause. Well, the fan shop is at your disposal there as well, and interviews with the likes of Marcus Sorg and some of the players as well. Some good reads, plenty for you, should I say, to dive on into and enjoy. So feel free to do that. Just a few clicks away. Number of players stand out when looking at the squad selection. Of course, in the goalkeeping department, be interesting to see who gets the nods. Most likely to be either Kevin Trapp or perhaps even Bernd Leno. Of course, Ter Stegen and Neuer not parts of the squad for the game against Spain. So even in between the sticks in the goalkeeping department, a real chance for one of the three keepers available to try and, well, again, give Jogi Löw a good headache and something to think about as the players now get on the ball and just do a bit of light warm-up. Running with the ball, Antonio Rüdiger there on screen. Tilo Kehrer as well. Interesting to see what sort of a back four Jogi Löw, or back three, back five, that Jogi Löw decides to go with. I think we're probably likely to see Süle and Rüdiger teaming up, and at left back perhaps Nico Schulz with a shout. He's returned to action, especially for Borussia Dortmund of late. Seen a lot more action. Was a difficult end to the Bundesliga season for Nico Schulz, suffering with injury and a bit of a stop-start career at BVB, albeit the start of his career with them as well, of course. So hopefully that will improve and perhaps get things back on track, not just at club level, but at German national team level as well.
Spanien ist das letzte Land.
Das sind Seitbewegungen. 3 rechts, 3 links.
Suat Serda on screen just a moment ago as well. Just 3 international caps for him so far, so he'll be looking to add to his locker when it comes to the national team, and real chance for the Schalke player to impress yet again. Kevin Trapp there, the Frankfurt keeper. Real opportunity for him. He's spent a lot of time in the shadow of Ter Stegen and of course Manuel Neuer, and with the way Manuel Neuer has performed in the Champions League, it's going to be difficult for anyone to get past him and his position. I don't think anyone would argue that he's more often than not the first choice keeper. I think it would be the same regardless of where he's playing. He simply is arguably the best keeper in the world, but it just goes to show how many fantastic players the German national team have at their disposal, not just out on the pitch when it comes to defenders, midfielders and attackers, but in the goalkeeping department as well. They just continue to develop these world-class shot stoppers, and Kevin Trapp, one of many. Of stretching for the players now as well. I wonder what we see, but it would be great to see perhaps a little 7-on-7 or 5-on-5. See some of the players in action, of course. Just taking it slightly easy today, the day of arrival for the majority of the players. Not going to dive into anything too intense just yet, but I'm sure the training will pick up in the days to come, leading up to that game against Spain on the 3rd of September. Matthias Ginter there. Full stretch, the keeper's getting ready for a bit of goalkeeping coaching as well. Andreas Köpke, the man in charge, an experienced keeper in his own time. Looks like he's still got it as well. Great to see him out on the pitch. It's been a while. Definitely a man who knows what he's on about to goalkeeping, which is why he's part of Joachim Löw's team here. A little bit of close control there for Niklas Süle and company. It's also going to be interesting, it has to be said, to see how some of the senior players are going to take on that senior role with a number of new faces, a number of young players in the side as well. Young players like Havertz, Sané still considered one, has to be, and Waldschmidt, Brandt, Werner, Julian Draxler, of course, Jonathan Tah, by no means one of the older ones, Süle, still an up-and-coming defender as well. It'll be interesting to see how the likes of Toni Kroos and Emre Can and İlkay Gündoğan take these players under their wing and really lead by example. It's going to be a lot more asked from those senior players as a result of a number of them not being able to take part, perhaps a lot fewer senior players to take on that job than Jogi Löw would normally have at his disposal. So an interesting task for them, a new challenge for some of them as well, I'm sure. So again, plenty of positives to take out of what would normally be considered a slightly negative situation. But Jogi Löw himself saying, you just have to roll with the punches, take it as it comes. It's not just like this for Germany. There's a lot of teams, a lot of leagues, a lot of international setups that are suffering in the same way. Well, suffering perhaps the wrong word. It's not as if he doesn't have any players at his disposal. And as mentioned before, it's a chance for some of the younger players to come through and really, well, grasp this opportunity with both hands and power through and really show the world what they can do. And what better opportunity than at the national team level and against an outstanding team like Spain. Perhaps not quite at the heights they were in recent times, when of course the likes of Xavi and Iniesta were controlling midfield. What a team that was. A team that arguably changed the way football was played for a number of years, and it took a while for the rest of the world to catch up or even figure out that puzzle that was the Spanish national team. The tiki-taka style of football that they played was just overpowering for a number of years, and during a time where they went on to win numerous trophies, it was, well, Spain was the team to beat, and for a time were unbeatable. And slowly but surely that then came to an end as well, and now you really feel it's a time where it's really up in the air. There are a number of teams that are really making names for themselves. Some would argue the English national team enjoying a resurgence in exciting young players, a pool of young and talented players, and I think the same can be said for German football and the German national team as well. We see a number of young English players heading over to the German Bundesliga to ply their trade there, to develop as players, which is one of the biggest compliments you can pay to German football, recognizing that the way Germany and the German Bundesliga and the German national team develops young players and not only turns them into fantastic football players but fantastic professionals as well, always with a good team ethic and always looking to improve themselves. You don't see too many egos within the German setup, hardly any. Very, very rarely do you see something like that, and it goes over into the way they play football as well. It's a very selfless style of football. The old saying of the team comes first, very much a part of the Jogi Löw philosophy, and when they play, when you see them together, you really get the feel that no one feels they're above anyone else. They're very much all level par with each other and moving forward with one thing in mind and fighting for the same cause, which is what you want from a national team. You want that at club level as well, but even more so when it's the national team that you're talking about. So, still warming up here. Just getting things loosened up a little still, not too intense. Just getting a light sweat on and easing the players into these few days here. A number of the players saying how happy they are to link up with some of their old friends, of course, some perhaps making new friends, but everyone in a good mood, everyone ready for the challenge ahead. That is Spain in a few days. The smiles on the players' faces telling us exactly that story as well. Florian Neuhaus was on screen there just a moment ago, as 7 appearances with the under-21 side, so definitely has experience at international level. 1 goal at under-21 level as well. 6 appearances before that for the under-20s under Guido Streichspier, before Stefan Kuntz decided to bring him up into the under-21 setup, and now Jogi Löw, impressed with what he's seen already, decides it's time to make that final step and link up with the big boys here. So I'm sure he'll be enjoying every second of this. It's what you train for, it's what you set out to accomplish as a football player when you're young. Of course, at club level, you want to win everything there is to win. You want to win the league in Germany, the cup competitions, not to mention the Champions League. But surely playing for your country is the pinnacle of your career, and to do it at such a young age as well, you know you're moving in the right direction. And Mr. Löw certainly thinks that Florian Neuhaus has what it takes to impress here in the white and black of Germany. Robin Koch, of course, another player who's got a little bit more, a little bit of experience, not quite as much as Florian Neuhaus when it comes to the international team. Just 5 appearances with the under-21s, but 2 already under Joachim Löw, and seems to like what he's seen, so he's back into the mix as well. It should be really interesting to see how some of these youngsters perform, and they'll be here to not just perform but also pick up a few things, perhaps learn a few things from the likes of that man Toni Kroos, arguably one of Germany's best ever midfielders. A slight dip in form with Real Madrid, who themselves are perhaps, since the departure of Cristiano Ronaldo to Juventus, in a bit of a transition period, and same can be said for Barcelona as well. The Spanish giants in general all coming to the end of the height of their power, with a number of big names leaving. Chance, of course, that Lionel Messi might no longer be part of Barcelona as well, but Toni Kroos, definitely one of the standout players for Real Madrid, so important to them as well, is highly appreciated by the fans, and he's such a workhorse and performer. It's very rare that you don't see Toni Kroos performing at the best of his ability, and even on the days where he's perhaps not having the best of days, well, he's always going to try and give absolutely everything to the cause. That's why, of course, Jogi Löw, such a big fan of Toni Kroos, and why he's in the mix. It's hard to get past the players of that caliber, and Toni Kroos definitely amongst some of the greats. Bernd Leno there in action. Making the trip over from London to link up with the German side. Currently Arsenal's #1 keeper. Been a bit of an up and down season for Arsenal in the Premier League, but Leno certainly made more friends than foes. Some solid performances from him. Another young keeper that just seems to go from strength to strength, and linking up with the national side yet again will certainly boost his confidence. Can see the tempo just on the up a little bit now. A bit of passing coming into play as well, layoffs of the ball, still keeping it rather simple here. Not so much about implementing tactics now and talking about how to take on Spain. I'm sure there's been a few discussions here or there that won't be taking place in front of the cameras, that's for sure, but that's of course understandable as well. More about just loosening up, getting used to the presence of each other as well out on the pitch, and just, well, after such a long time away, just trying to get back the feeling of the national team setup. And give the players a bit of the routine that has been missing for so long. Get that back into action as well. Jonathan Tah. And there with Ilkay Gundogan. Robin Gosens as well. Gosens part of that exciting Atalanta team who, well, took the European football by storm this season. I think everyone's surprise package, and even when they went out of the competition, they went out in style, playing the way that only Atalanta Bergamo will ever play, and that's attacking, exciting football, taking their game to the opponents. And it's that sort of mentality that's been instilled into Robin Gosens that I think Jogi Löw will be excited about, trying to, well, see if he can try and implement that into the German national team as well. Jogi Löw, of course, a big fan of a high work rate, defending from the front as well, and trying to dictate the pace of games. And, well, the likes of Gosens certainly fits the bill as far as that's concerned, and wouldn't be surprised if we see Gosens in quite a bit of action. I'd quite like to see how he does at national team level as well. He's had such a good season and been so impressive that, well, it's well deserved. Serdar there. Suat Serdar, the Schalke man, looking for his 4th appearance with the German national team. Still early days for him, but he hopes it's the beginning of a long international career, and if he keeps playing and performing the way he has been at Schalke and wherever he might be in the future, you would think he's certainly in with a good chance of doing just that. And there, Julian Brandt, followed by Kehrer Brandt. Well, what a season he had last campaign with Borussia Dortmund. One of a number of standout players for them, but Julian Brandt hit the ground running when joining a BVB, and head coach Lucien Favre quickly becoming a big fan of the young German international and handing him a lot of responsibility as well. Saw him playing in a number of different positions for BVB as well. We had him as part of a attacking front three. We then saw him in central midfield, almost in a defensive midfield, alongside the likes of Axel Witsel and Delaney at times. Of course, BVB suffering with a number of injuries in multiple positions, and Julian Brandt just showing what kind of a player he is, how versatile he is as well, taking up a number of different roles and positions within that Dortmund team, and very quickly showing that he's not just able to deliver in those positions, but he can stand out in those positions as well. Me personally, I was extremely possessed with some of his games in defensive midfield. Brandt, of course, known for his attacking play and his involvement in the build-up of attacking moves, less so for his defensive attributes or capabilities, but he showed that they are on par with his attacking attributes and capabilities. And, well, Jogi Löw therefore has a player at his disposal who can not just be part of scoring and creating goals, but can help prevent them as well when needed. And you never know, especially at international level, an injury can just creep up out of the blue. Fingers crossed nothing of the sort happens to any of these players while here in Stuttgart preparing for that game. But when you have a player like Julian Brandt, well, it does take a whole weight off your shoulders should one of those injuries happen. Well, you can throw Brandt into a central midfield position, even a defensive midfield. Emre Can, another player who plays for BVB, coincidentally, but another player who's showed off his versatility since deciding to return to the German Bundesliga. Was with Juventus for the first half of the season, not quite enjoying his time there and perhaps not getting as much game time as he would have liked, so decided to head back to the Bundesliga, linking up with Borussia Dortmund, and even he was called into, forced to play in a number of different positions. Normally likes to just settle in central midfield, defensive midfield even. Likes to get forward at times, perhaps not quite as much as Julian Brandt, but Emre Can never shy of getting a shot off from outside the box or putting in an aerial challenge on a corner or a dead ball situation, but then had to slot in alongside Mats Hummels at times or Manuel Akanji in central defence, and, well, certainly delivered when called upon and put together some really impressive displays there. Not too often you see him in that central defensive position, but was happy to take on the challenge and take on the challenge he did. Leroy Sané now back in the Bundesliga as well. Well, all these players returning to the German top flight to ply their trade there just goes to show where German football is at the moment. It's on the up, it's heading in the right direction. And if you look at the Champions League alone, I mean, 2 out of the final 4 teams, well, from the German Bundesliga, of course, one of which Bayern Munich, the other Leipzig. Bayern Munich going on to win the competition in style as well, with a number of German players amongst their ranks and helping them lift that title. So you can understand why a number of players are returning to the Bundesliga, and Sané feels his best chance of getting back into the national team setup and being a part of it on a regular basis is by joining up with Bayern Munich. A big signing for Bayern Munich. A big signing, you feel, for Leroy Sané as well, who's, well, become slightly the forgotten hero of late because of that lengthy injury he suffered, but he's now back to full fitness, back to full training, and back in the international team setup, and it's great to see him back. I'm sure there are a number of Germany fans who are very happy and have a big smile on their face now that Leroy Sané is back in the fold.
Sehr gerne.
But now let's hear what Markus Sorg, the assistant coach, had to say about everything here. No international football for 10 months. Players arriving from all over Europe and the world. Some coming from having just played some competitive games, the others coming back from holidays. Just how difficult is it? Well, I think everyone's just happy to see each other again after such a long time away. It's great to be able to prepare for games again. Of course, the situation isn't ideal with some players coming back from holiday, others coming back from having just played competitive games, perhaps a day ago, 2 days ago. And so we're going to have to be smart with the way we prepare some players rather than others in the build-up to these games. And our aim will be to get everyone ready in time. We've seen players training in small groups. How are the players coping with that? Well, we've done exactly that. We've trained in small groups, but in the 2 games before the Spain game, we will have normal training sessions as larger groups as well. Question to Markus Sorg: is it sensible to be playing games like these under the circumstances? Yes, I believe it's also important for society that we have games like this and give something to the people for them to look forward to during difficult times like these. And I think we have to aim to try and do everything we can to win each and every game and put our all into every aspect of that preparation. So nice to hear from Markus Sorg there. I'm sure it's been a difficult and busy time for the whole coaching staff, something that they'll never have experienced before, and I'm sure a lot of them hope they will never have to experience again. However, that is simply the situation for everyone, not just in sport at the moment. Everyone having to adapt to the world as it stands, and fingers crossed we'll get back to where we need to when the time is right. In the meantime, it's simply nice to see that the German national team can get together, can play games. Of course, you always want stadiums to be full. Not just the fans want to be in the stadiums, but I'm pretty sure the players would quite like the fans to be in the stadium as well. It's what you play football for as well. Yes, it's the joy of playing, the joy of being on the pitch, but when you're a young player and dreaming of being a professional, it's the crowds that you want to score in front of that just add to the whole romantic story that is football. And not having that, of course, I'm sure has its positive and its benefits at times, but I think everyone would agree that a full stadium and fans singing their songs, cheering on their players, celebrating goals, or even having to wipe their tears off the back of defeat. It's all part and parcel of the game that we all love. That is football. But of course, we completely understand, as do the German national team, why things have to be done in a certain way at the moment, because health and safety, not just for players, but for everyone involved in football, including those who enjoy watching it from the stands, has to come first. And so it will. Well, looks like Jogi Löw setting the players up for a keep ball session, which usually means the players split into two teams. We do have 2 goals, so perhaps might have keepers in action here as well. Interesting to see what Jogi has in store for us here. Hope you are enjoying this live training session here in the ADM Sportpark Stuttgart. In Stuttgart, of course, because on the 3rd of September, just a few days away from now, Germany taking on Spain in the UEFA Nations League. And the action returning at club level. Great to see football returning at an international level now as well. The games coming thick and fast. It's going to be an interesting season, both internationally and at club level, for all of these players. Some will have had a lengthy time without football. Some will have been playing football almost throughout. Everyone had the same break, of course, when the pandemic did hit and football came to a complete stop. But since it's restarted, some of the players perhaps having to rely on small training sessions or training at home to make sure that their fitness levels stay up, while others thrown straight back into the mix with the Champions League tournament we saw. It was game after game after game, very little time for recovery, and then straight into the international team setup. Not everyone, some given a rest, of course, as we've already mentioned, but some players like the French, or the players that play in Ligue 1, the likes of Julian Draxler, Thilo Kehrer, well, the Ligue 1 well and truly underway already, so they will have been back to full training, have a few games under their belt as well. So very different situations for different players, and it's going to be interesting to see how the coaching staff here gets everyone onto the same level, all on the same page. And, fitness levels all up on par together. Does look like it's a keep ball session here first, which will probably turn into goal scoring allowed as well. So Julian Draxler here, available to everyone. Of course, in that central midfield position, big part of his game. Always the movement off the ball, almost as important. Sometimes more important than the movement on it. One goal already in off the post. Trapp unable to keep out Julian Brandt as Kehrer knocks one in at the other end as well. Looks like Oliver Baumann in between the sticks on the far side there. One-touch football. Such a big part of today's game, and we've seen become a big part of the game in recent times as well. Playing out from the back, the days of just hoofing the ball clear, well and truly gone, especially in German football and Bundesliga football. Already in some of the pre-season games, we've seen a lot of the teams putting a lot of focus on playing out from the back. Nice finish there from Julian Draxler. Curling one into the far corner. Baumann with no chance of keeping that one out. Going to get a nice slow motion replay of that as well. Wonderful technique there from the Paris Saint-Germain midfielder. Emre Can with a shot on goal as well. Always vocal, Emre Can. Never shy of letting his teammates know what he needs from them. There's Werner. Werner, part of the exciting Chelsea setup. Going to be playing under Frank Lampard in the Premier League. After a wonderful career with Leipzig. Looking for a new challenge abroad, but intent on being a big part of Jogi Löw and Team Germany's plans in the upcoming years. Be interesting challenge for him in the Premier League, a very physical league, of course. Slightly different to the German Bundesliga, but that can only add to his game as well. I think he'd struggle to find anyone who would say he's not an experienced Bundesliga player. He's showed that he is one of the best in the business when it comes to finding the back of the net in German top flight, and perhaps he can learn a few different things in the Premier League as well, which he can then bring with him and just add to his overall game. Exciting times for him, I'm sure. And Draxler there, wearing that purple shirt, playing for both sides during this little session here. Would suggest you think that he might have quite a pivotal part to play in midfield against Spain. Rüdiger, long-range effort there. Baumann with the save. Rüdiger now a teammate of Timo Werner's. Rüdiger with Chelsea for a good few seasons now. Werner joining him there this summer. And you would think that the players currently out in this kickabout on the pitch here on screen right now could very likely be the go-to players for that Spain game. Players that might be called into action, but who knows? Of course we will only well and truly know on a match day. That is the 3rd of September. Evening kickoff. Make sure you get involved and show your support. It's going to be an absolutely cracking game. Fantastic to see international football back on our screens. Jogi Löw there with a few words for his players. What you would give to be a fly on the wall or fly on the ball. Always with his calm but focused demeanour. Jogi Löw, one of the most successful international managers in world football. An Absolute icon of German international football at this stage already. A number of accolades under his belt, has seen a number of different waves and stages of the national team. Waves of new players coming in, next generations taking over. He's been there to see it all, which when it comes to experience is second to none. He's been part of the ups, been part of the downs, and everything in between, and just as fired up and ready to go as always. One of the best in the business, Jogi Löw. You can just see the respect from his players. It's not a respect he necessarily demands, because he doesn't have to. CV, the way he handles things is all the players need to know, and you can see that out there as well. Avidly listening to every word, taking on every bit of advice, every instruction, effortlessly, and the way he delivers those messages, it just seems to be spot on. A manager I'm sure a lot of young managers out there look up to, and will try to replicate as best they can. Brandt, the player, available to both sides, it would seem. Off the post there from Timo Werner. Well picked out, the ball shifted out onto that right side. Nice and quick. Oh, lovely finish there. Fantastic stuff from Neuhaus. Not a bad way to kick off your first time with the national team. Can, Julian Brandt linking up there. Two players that know each other well. Both at BVB, of course. Decent save there. Pressing as well, which is easily done on this small pitch, but that's all part and parcel of what it's meant to be. It's not a lot of room to work with. You have to play your way out from the back and need to pick out good, precise passes in order to bring your teammates into play and try and create a goal-scoring opportunity. Werner, out wide to Brandt. Brandt tries to pull it back across the face of goal and into that far corner there. A lot of communication between the players. Of course, something that we've, as fans and spectators, have become a little more used to now, with the lack of fans at games. Really, probably one of the positives for me personally anyway, as Brandt slots another one hard and low into the bottom corner, has been that well, it's been interesting to hear the players and hear how much communication there is between them, between the coaching staff and the players as well. Something it's almost impossible to experience when the stadiums are at full capacity, of course. The volume level's just so high that you wonder how the players can hear each other. And at the pitch level, or how the manager gets messages across, sort of makes it a little more understandable why sometimes you see players being sent on with little post-its or little bits of paper with instructions so that they can hand that on to their teammates when they're within hearing range. Nice little step over or two there by Emre Can, showing off his attacking ability there. Intensity definitely gone up a few notches, to say the least, here now. Coming in a good workout here at the end of the first day and day of arrival. Good challenge there from Emre Can, not backing out of that one. Another quick break for the players. No need to overdo it just yet. In the meantime, while the players rehydrate, time for us to take a look back at Team Germany's time in Düsseldorf.
Okay. Hört kurz zu. Sechs Orange spielen darunter mit 2 Kontaktfünfern und mit Abseits. Okay? Abseitslinie, da Abseits. Unterzahl, freies Spiel ohne Abseits. Okay? Also, das heißt, verliert den Ball vorne, bleibt drauf. Nicht abschalten, sondern dann geht drauf, geh nach. Gucke, dass ich möglichst schnell den Ball frei vorne wieder gewinne. Ja? Orange 2 Kontakte, vorbereitet, gucken, hinten vorbereitet, spielen, gehen. Wenn einer klatschen lässt, einer tief, auch wenn das Spielfeld nicht so lange ist, aber gucke, dass ich in die Rücke komme, Abschluss, okay? Nachher wechseln wir. Okay, ja, Robin, ihr fangt an.
Hab Geduld,
Okay.
halt den Ball.
Breite Tiefe, ja.
Bisschen höher, Jungs, schieb vor! Schieb vor!
Halb.
Egal, Robin, warte!
Rechte Schulter, Emre.
Weiter!
Zeit. Wo ist Abseits? Hier.
Lass ihn nach innen spielen, mach außen zu! Links zu! Links!
Emre, rechts. Nur rechts.
Von rechts, Schulter!
Tiefe nutzen. Ja, Leroy, jawohl. Ja. Ja. Okay, schade, aber gut. Ganz tief. Hey!
Jawohl, Junge. Mühle. Immer mehr. Toni. Ja, Pablo, halb links, warte. Emre tief.
Gut!
Ja, gut, der Mann.
Wenn du
Hey, komm.
Timo, komm, schaff mal!
Hey,
Bitte
komm.
zu.
Gut.
Nur Mitte. Komm.
Sag Timo!
Zeit.
Bleib vorne!
Ich bin da.
Zeit.
Ja.
Abschluss. Ja.
War 3.
Kontakte.
Bleib vorne. Einmal mehr, rechts. Rechts. Mitte. Ja.
Läuft da!
Spielen.
Wir haben. Mitte. Ja, komm.
Herr Jule!
Platz steht. Abschluss. Ja. Toni.
Sehr gut, Toni, ja. Gut.
Schieb bisschen vor!
Warte.
Timo, lass ihn nach innen spielen!
Ja.
So, links! Timo, komm rein!
Zeit. Bleib vorne, Jule. Bleib vorne.
Gut, Jule.
Einmal mehr.
Ja. Stuart, nach vorne. Hey.
Zeit. Ganz viel Zeit. Oh ja.
Ah, schmeckt mir.
Nimm den Ball. Warte, zusammen in der Luft.
Ich bin hier.
Helft ihm.
Flo, linke Schulter, Flo, links. So, die bleibt.
Ja. Warte. Jule. Halbfeld. Ja.
Bleib drauf.
Hast du Olli? Hier.
Ja.
Olli, Druck.
Gut, Olli, Junge, gut, Olli.
So, an interesting little look into the past and the last year. Back when the German team was in Düsseldorf preparing for that game against Belarus. It was interesting to hear from some of the players talking about the fantastic team spirit, how the players enjoy playing cards with each other in their spare time. Plenty of team bonding activities there. We also saw the likes of Serdar and Amiri talking about how fond they are of each other, knowing each other well, of course, from the under-21 setup, and when asked who they would most like to room up with or have as their roommates when it comes to these international trips with each other or international meetups, well, both choosing each other, so showing that they have a good, strong friendship there, but plenty of friendships amongst the players here. Everyone on good terms with each other. And we saw them with a 90-minute intense attack and offense drill there before there was a press conference, including the likes of Bierhoff and Goretzka. We saw Goretzka getting a little bit of physiotherapy there. A commercial being done by the national team with the Commerzbank. A school visit as well with 5 players, including the likes of Serge Gnabry there. Then the Christmas advert that was made by some of the players as well. And then that Belarus game and the moments just before it, of course. All part and parcel of being a national team player. By no means just all about football. Plenty to take into consideration and plenty to do for the players away from the pitch as well. But that's what it's all about when you are in the limelight and at the top of your career. Still, very interesting pictures there and a great insight into what the players get up to and what their schedule looks like when they are with Die Mannschaft Team Germany.
Schon da im Blick haben, zuordnen, man muss sehen, okay. Und dann auch ist gut, wenn man dann sagt, okay, Ballverlust oder Oliver hat den Ball und spielt raus, Signal, hey, drauf, Julian, geh vor, du Suat, kannst gehen, ja, zuordnen, bin ich da? Und nicht alle dann irgendwie nach vorne stürzen und im Rücken ist irgendwie einer völlig rein und der macht vor, schon Übersicht wahren, vor allen Dingen auch ein bisschen Rufe dirigieren. Ja, Leroy, geh raus, geh drauf, kannst gehen, ja, du. Jeder ein bisschen coachen und dem anderen sagen, okay, hey, ja, kannst du vorne gehen. So kannst du gehen, ja, geh, ich bin da. Und nicht irgendwie einfach so rumrennen und dann plötzlich alles aus dem Auge verlieren. Also,
interesting to hear Jogi Löw there talking about how important communication and coaching amongst the players themselves is in live game situations. Should one player feel the need to perhaps push up or get involved in a certain situation, he needs that backup from his teammate to say, yes, Leon, or if we use Leon Goretzka as an example here, yes, Leon, you go, I've got you covered in and behind you, and you really putting importance on that communication, you know, so that everyone is on the same page and rowing in the same direction. And you know, when you have that communication, you can then make decisions with confidence, knowing that you've got the support of your teammate behind you, covering that space that you might be leaving when venturing forward and trying to apply pressure or trying to put a tackle in or simply trying to perhaps go forward, add another man to an attacking situation, and just really stating how important it is to have that communication between each other so everyone knows exactly where everyone is, what they're doing, what decisions they are making or about to make. Really interesting stuff to be able to hear that from the German head coach Jogi Löw there.
Bereite vor, dann Tempo, ja!
Rüdiger there with a cheeky effort from distance, trying to curl one into the top corner. Oh, lovely finish. Well, the first we've seen from Julian Draxler. Almost a carbon copy of the one we saw before the players took a water break. Certainly looks like he's in the mood to impress against Spain as Kerr, a cheeky nutmeg, arguably in an offside position there, which is, or ball out of play even. So a quick little layoff there.
Weiter, hey! Timo, komm! Jawohl, Toni! Lass einmal und dann Signal.
Good to see Robin Koch in action as well.
Emre,
He really could have a big part to play for the national team in the coming years. Robin Koch still just 24, a bit of a late bloomer at national level. Better late than never, and at 24, by no means old. Still a good few years before he reaches his prime, so could just be edging his way into the international setup at just the right time as well. Central defence, of course, an area in the German national team that you do feel is going through a transition period at the moment. Do have experience there, of course, in the form of Antonio Rüdiger, but Süle still very much in the early parts of his career. Koch, well, it goes without saying. Jonathan Tah, of course, still part of the younger crowd as well. Although probably one of the more experienced in that younger group. So really is going to be interesting to see which players sort of stamp their authority on that position and make it their own over the coming months, years, games ahead. Rüdiger not holding back on that challenge there. Good pressure, and that's exactly what Löw wants to see from his players. Early pressure. Really is the way football is being played more and more at the moment. We see over in the Premier League the way Liverpool won their Champions League last year, and then the league this year, the way Bayern Munich took the Champions League by absolute storm this season, defending very, very high, each and every player playing their part. Serge Gnabry very much becoming one of the world's standout players this season because of his work rate up front. It's not just always about scoring goals. Gone are the times of the big number 9s just lingering up front, waiting for the high ball to come in and just scoring their goals and then slowly walking back until the next phase of attack comes their way. Nowadays, very much changed the way football is played. You're usually playing with a front three, all of which can interchange across positions. Very much more wingers than the classic striker. But the reason they're needed in that way is because of the amount of running and ground they need to cover in modern football. Of course, you're almost the first line of defence, and we saw that with the way Bayern Munich played in the Champions League. The pressure they put on their opponents started as high up the pitch as we've ever seen before in football. And when you have your front men defending vigorously and putting so much emphasis on the defensive part of the game, you then create this wave after wave, wall after wall of defensive players that you need to break through in order to play your way out from the back, and just makes it extremely difficult. Then you add to the fact that when you give the ball away, you're giving it away in an area where, yes, the players are defending from the front, but all of a sudden those players are then some of the most capable when it comes to attacking and then using that opportunity, taking advantage of a mistake, and very quickly you find yourselves not only playing against walls of defense, starting with the attackers ahead of you, but you also find yourself behind and having to come from behind in a game. And, well, you can understand why everyone is slowly but surely starting to follow suit and fall into that way of playing. Jogi Löw's trying to get there nice and early and really drive it into his players, and with the likes of players like a Leroy Sané, like a Gnabry, not part of the setup this time round, but a Kai Havertz, these young, exciting, a Timo Werner, players that have so much energy, have such high fitness levels. You can implement that style of play, and, well, you almost suffocate your opponent from start to finish, and before they know what's happened, they find themselves behind and can't get their way out of trouble. So, exciting times, and really looking forward to see how this group of players take on the Spanish side. They might not be as strong as they once were, but by no means will Jogi Löw or these players be taking the Spanish side lightly. They know how to play the game, and they will, or are, an extremely tough opponent for anyone, especially at European level, up there amongst the elite of international football teams, even if they're not quite the tiki-taka geniuses that we saw not too long ago. They certainly are built on very strong foundations. Spanish football by no means dead and buried, and that next generation will have a bit of a chip on their shoulder as well, a point to prove that Spain still belongs amongst the top teams in Europe. So expect fireworks when the two clash on the 3rd of September, that's for sure.
Abseits gibt's keines, nein. Markus, Andi, nimm da 2, 3 Bälle, wenn die Bälle seitlich ausgehen, dass die Bälle dann wieder da sind, ja? Okay. So, freies Spiel, Torhüter ein Kontakt, 1 Minute 30.
The goals board a little closer here as well. A few less players on the pitch. So more about high tempo and finishing, it would seem here, with not a lot of room to work with. All about that 1-2 and then a finish. Creating the space, then a finish. Receiving the ball, laying it off, then a finish. Receiving the ball, spinning on the turn, then a finish. That's what the German coaching staff are looking to try and get going here. Eventually helped over the line there by Matthias Ginter. Matthias Ginter, one of the players here with Gundogan and Draxler, Brandt, Niklas Süle with the most appearances, the most experience, of course, amongst the entire bunch. Toni Kroos, who's heading towards that 196 international appearances for him so far, 17 goals in that time as well. So by far the most experienced player in this squad here. It's incredible to think that Julian Brandt and Draxler, both in and around that 30 mark. Gundogan as well with 37 appearances, Draxler with 51 appearances. So it's been part of the mix for quite some time, Julian Draxler. Just short bursts for each group of players as well before a different 3-on-3 situation unfolds. Now Emre Can, Thilo Kehrer and Leroy Sané teamed up with each other, wearing the green bibs. Okay, Gundogan on the sideline, getting a little comfy. Oliver Bierhoff in deep discussion with Niklas Süle there. Süle with his boots off in the meantime, giving his feet a breather, quite literally.
Ja, nochmal. Bleib in der Ecke, bleib dran. Gut, vor, Tilo, vor. Kraft. Helf ihm. Nur außen. Kann nur außen.
William Brandt and Emre Can have had that little battle between each other on many occasions, I'm sure, training with Borussia Dortmund. Not a bad effort there, trying to create a little bit of space there for the right-footed shot. And back to Bierhoff. And Süle there. Süle is such a beast of a defender. And he has that big towering frame and sometimes surprises you just how agile and quick he can be. Really is one of the up-and-coming big names in central defence, not just for Germany but in world football. You feel he's certainly at the right place to develop as a central defender with Bayern Munich.
Komm dazu. Stark. Ja.
Next set of players, get ready to come on. Oliver Baumann there. Oh, excuse me, Bernd Leno. Bernd Leno, of course, part of that team to win the Community Shields just a few days ago with Arsenal, beating Liverpool on penalties. First bit of silverware of the new season for the Arsenal and Germany keeper. Leroy Sané there with a smart little finish there on the spin. Back to goal. Quick turn and fires it low and hard into the far corner. Emre Can using that upper body strength of his, and then a cute little finish of his own there. Jogi Löw showing his appreciation with a little round of applause. Julian Draxler certainly looks like he is in the mood. He's been rather impressive here. Probably one of the standout performers as far as the training session goes, of course. Not to get too carried away with it being a light training session. Of course, perhaps a little session, or this part of the session, not exactly the favourite part for the keepers, I'm sure. Although they do get a lot of shots fired their way, which do means they are called into action more often than not. But more about the players finishing in goal-scoring positions when everything is this close and this small out on the pitch as well. Kera there with a left-footed effort. Went off the mark. Oh, Draxler with his left foot, showing Kera how it's done. Off the crossbar. Let's have another look at that one. Jogi Löw hinting at the end of the session here. And it looks like that is the end of the action here. Perhaps a little rundown for some of the players, or just a little walk-off. And not exactly the end of the action here, so do stick around. We've got 1 or 2 interviews still coming up for you as well. I'll do my best to try and translate them as they unfold for you. As for the players, those not involved in any sort of interviews, I'm sure they'll be heading back to the team hotel. As we've already heard, I'm sure there are a few game of cards awaiting for some. Let's hope it's not quite as competitive as it's been out here. So Florian Neuhaus will be one of the players for an interview, perhaps Leroy Sané as well, it would seem. So some interesting interviews for you to enjoy as well before it all comes to a close here. We hope you have enjoyed it so far. It's been a really interesting insight into, well, the squad that has been selected, the interaction between some of the players and coaching staff as well. So should be some interesting words here from Leroy Sané and Florian Neuhaus.
Ja, okay. Ja, Florian, erstes Training bei der Mannschaft. Erstmal herzlich willkommen. Hat es wenigstens ein bisschen
First training
Spaß
session, a
Ja,
warm
war
welcome,
super, hat
Florian.
richtig viel Spaß gemacht. Ich glaube, man hat es gesehen, es war viel Zug drin.
Yeah, I think
Jeder hatte
everyone could
Bock
see
und,
it's
hat auf jeden
a
Fall
lot of
sehr
fun
viel
to
Spaß
be here.
Eine lange Pause, lange Fußballpause. Was hast du in der
A
ganzen
long
Zeit
break
gemacht?
away from football.
Ja, erstmal die Beine hochgelegt, dann
What
hatten
did
wir
you
aber auch
do?
relativ
Well,
schnell ein
for a while I put my
Laufprogramm,
feet up.
aber es hat gut getan nach der
Of
intensiven letzten
course,
Saison.
it was
Aber
an
jetzt
intensive
freut man
last
sich auch wieder,
season,
dass
so it
die
was
Saison wieder
a
losgeht.
welcome break
Wo
for me.
seid ihr gerade bei Gladbach? Seid ihr schon ordentlich in der Vorbereitung, schon mittendrin?
How are things
Ja, wir
at
sind auf jeden
Gladbach?
Fall wieder
How is
mittendrin.
preparations
Wenn man
going?
jetzt von den Länderspielreisen
Yeah,
zurückkommt,
we're
steht schon die
full throttle
Vorbereitung aufs
ahead
DFB-Pokalspiel
with preparations
also
already.
jetzt geht's wieder voll los und wir sind wieder voll drin.
And
Hast du
we're
Bundestrainer
all raring
oder
to
der
go as well.
Co-Trainer, wer hat dich angerufen?
Bundestrainer.
Ja.
So,
Was hast du für ein Gefühl?
who gave you the
Ja,
call?
war ein super
That
Gefühl.
was Mr.
Ich
Löw.
habe mich total gefreut und
And I was
ja,
ecstatic,
es ist eine
over the
super
moon,
Sache, dass ich jetzt hier sein darf und ich
and
freue mich drauf.
extremely
Und
proud
auch
to
ein
be
bisschen die
here.
Hoffnung, dass du dann auch mal zum Einsatz kommst, ein paar Minuten spielst
Do you
oder
hope to
vielleicht
get a few
eine
minutes?
Halbzeit, oder freut man sich einfach nur
Or are you just
prinzipiell, dass man
happy
überhaupt
to
dabei
be
ist?
here?
Ja, ich freue mich jetzt natürlich dabei
Of course,
zu sein,
I'm
aber
extremely
natürlich, wenn man
happy to
schon
be here.
eingeladen ist, dann hofft man natürlich auch
Just
sein
being
Debüt feiern
invited
zu
to be a part
dürfen.
of it
Aber
is
ich lasse mich überraschen,
fantastic
ich gebe im
achievement,
Training
and
Gas
as
und
far
schau dann,
as
was
minutes
Ja,
go, well,
alles drückt dir die Daumen
let
dafür.
myself be surprised
Dankeschön.
and leave that
So, jetzt holen wir mal
to
den Leroy.
the
Leroy.
managers.
So, dann warten wir mal. Jetzt geht er ein bisschen langsamer. Normal ist er super schnell. Leroy, weißt du,
Sané
wie lange
next here.
du nicht mehr bei der Nationalmannschaft warst?
Do you know how long you haven't been part of the
Schon
national
etwas
team?
länger, genau. ist nicht
15
wahr.
Monate,
Ich
weißt du
würde
noch?
sagen, auf jeden Fall über 10 Monate.
I was
Ja,
going to
15
say
Monate, ich
over
glaub,
10 months
Juni.
for sure. Thanks for
Ja,
letting me
wann warst
know
du das
it's
letzte Mal
15.
dabei? Viel erlebt in der Zwischenzeit.
You've experienced a lot in that time.
Bei Manchester City, jetzt bei Bayern München. Wie war denn die Zeit für dich? Wie hast du das denn
At
persönlich
Man
erlebt?
City, now you with
ich
Bayern
glaub,
Munich. How was the
das
time
letzte
for
Jahr
you?
für mich war natürlich schon ein Auf und Ab.
Well, the last
Ich
year has been
denke,
very
klar,
up and down for me.
Erst mit meinem Kreuzbandriss, dann
course,
kam
the
natürlich
injury
noch
to my
die
knee, Then
Corona-Situation.
the entire
Und ja,
COVID-19
jetzt am
situation.
Ende von allem dann noch der Wechsel zu Bayern München.
In the end, then a
ja,
change of
war
clubs,
ein
Man City to
toughes
Bayern
Jahr,
Munich.
aber auch, ja, ich glaube, ein sehr, sehr gutes
busy
Jahr
year,
für mich selber, um
But
mich
it's also a good
persönlich
year
noch besser
for me
kennenzulernen.
personally.
Durch die Reha musste
Had
mich
a
zurückarbeiten
good
und
rehabilitation process, learned a lot about myself in that time as well.
ein sehr, sehr gutes Jahr, weil ich sehr, sehr viel lernen durfte.
Ist das für dich denn jetzt auch
It's
wieder so
therefore
was
a good year.
besonders Schönes, dass du mal wieder hier dabei bist, die alten
Is it
Gesichter alle
nice
siehst?
to be
Ja, na
part
klar. Ich
of
denke,
the Germany team
generell
again?
alle sind froh, wieder
Of
hier
course, everyone's
zusammenzukommen,
happy to
Spaß
be
zu
here
haben,
again,
Fußball zusammen zu spielen und na klar,
be
für die
able to play with
Nationalmannschaft
each
zu spielen.
other.
Du bist jetzt bei Bayern München. Ich meine, das ist ja die komplette Achse. Hier fehlen zwar
You're
jetzt
now at
welche
Bayern
von den
Munich.
Champions League-Siegern. Wie hast du das denn erlebt?
Champions
Und
League
freust du dich
winners.
darauf, dass du mit
How
denen
did you
vielleicht in Zukunft
experience
das
that?
Rückgrat der Nationalmannschaft bildest?
Ja, na klar. Ich bin natürlich froh für die, vor allem für die Jungs, mit denen ich
Yes,
mit der
I'm very
Nationalmannschaft
happy
zusammen
for
gespielt habe oder auch
new
schon in der
teammates, and I know
U-Nationalmannschaft
some of them
zusammen.
from the
Na klar,
national
ist dann
team
auch
as
eine
well, of course.
Freundschaft, die man dann da auch aufbaut und ich habe mich riesig gefreut für die, dass die natürlich ja für sich
I have a strong
persönlich den
friendship with a
Titel
lot of
holen
the
konnten
players, and I was
und
very, very
na
happy
klar
for
freue ich
them.
mich generell dann, wenn die dann natürlich auch wieder beim nächsten Mal hier dazustoßen.
2 Spiele gegen Spanien, gegen die Schweiz.
2
In
games,
so
one
einem
against Spain,
Stadion,
one against
ja, jeder
Switzerland.
von euch ist ja in einem anderen Fitnessstadion. Wo stehst du denn im Moment?
What are your
Ich muss
fitness
sagen,
levels
im
like
Großen und
right
Ganzen
now?
sehr, sehr gut. Ich denke, ich bin so bei 80%.
I'd
Na
say
klar,
I'm probably
fehlen die
about
Spiele,
80%
der
now.
Rhythmus dann natürlich noch, ich denke, wo dann die letzten Prozente noch dazukommen.
Hopefully get those
Aber ich freue mich
other
natürlich riesig jetzt auf die beiden
percentages
Spiele.
from actual game time.
Das sind 2 sehr, sehr gute Gegner. Und,
2 very good
ja,
opponents.
werden wir sehen, was da noch auf
And
uns zukommt.
we'll just
drück
have
ich
to
dir
see
die Daumen, bleib gesund und
how it all
viel
unfolds.
Spaß dabei.
Danke.
Danke. Und wieder zurück zu der Christina. Tschüss.
So, some interesting words there from both players there. So, a quick reminder, 3rd of September, Germany will take on Spain in the UEFA Nations League. And 3 days later, the following Sunday, Switzerland, the next opponent after that game against Spain. So, the action about to get back underway. Thank you for joining us here for this live training session, and make sure you help the German team by supporting them during those 2 live games. As for me, from the ADM Sportpark here in Stuttgart, it's a thank you for joining us. We hope you enjoyed all the action here. Until next time, all the best and take care.